There is so much advice out there on how to manage money, but not enough on how to actually make it feel doable, right? Especially in our 20s when we're building, learning, and trying not to feel behind. I found that the most powerful changes come from small habits that support our brain and not fight against it. So in today's video, I'm sharing tiny habits backed by psychology and cognitive neuroscience to help us feel more in control. Hi, I'm Leona. I study psychology, cognitive neuroscience, and public health, and I've worked at world-leading investment banks and media companies. If you're new here, I share psychology and cognitive neuroscience back to wellbeing content to help you thrive emotionally, physically, and financially. Let's get into the video. Okay, so reframe savings as self-reward, not sacrifice. Let's start by shifting our mindset around savings. So in psychology, according to positive reinforcement theory, when we connect saving to positive feelings rather than deprivation, we build a more sustainable habit. One approach we might take is to rename our savings account with something uplifting, like Dream House 2026 or Peace of Mind Fund, and set micro celebrations when we actually reach those milestones. Also, we might even pause to give thanks when we actually transfer money, using that moment as a gratitude practice. So saying a quiet prayer like, "Thank you, Lord, for providing," and transform saving into an act of trust. So when saving feels like a gift to our future self rather than a loss, it becomes a joy instead of a chore. Next is a way to harness something our brain already does, right? So mental budgeting is our mind's way of categorizing expenses, but when the categories are vague, we tend to overspend. Defining clear boundaries can improve control. A helpful habit is picking one category each month to track. So for example, like £50 on new clothes, and noting it down briefly in our journal or in our app on our phone. One way we can apply this is by treating a category like a mini game, right? So if we stay under the amount, we add the leftover to the savings. It's a gentle way to stay focused without feeling restricted. Ultimately, giving our brain defined categories makes spending feel intentional rather than reactive. Another habit worth exploring is adding visual reminders to our space. So cognitive neuroscience shows that the hippocampus helps us form associations between visuals and meaning. So when we see an object tied to our financial goal, for example, the brain links it to our motivation and strengthens that intention over time. So an approach we might try is placing a visual cue where we see it daily. So like a sticky note on the mirror called Freedom Fund or whatever we're saving for, or a photo on our lock screen. So for example, if there was a season where we wanted to stop impulse shopping, having a picture of the bigger thing we were saving for on our desk could remind us to pause, and that reminder could change our daily choices. Ultimately, small visual prompts which gives our brain something concrete to anchor to, making our money goals feel real and reachable. Alright, so here's a simple way to make managing money less mentally draining. The prefrontal cortex responsible for decision making and self-control has limited energy each day. When it's overworked, we're more prone to financial slip-ups. So one idea we could try is automating like just one financial task, like setting up a recurring savings transfer or a direct debit for bills, for example. Our brain doesn't have to think about it daily. So once we automate something, like, let's say like £20, for example, into our savings each payday, it becomes part of our background. But over time, that background just builds stability. Okay, so let's make money checking something we actually stick to. The basal ganglia helps turn repeated actions into habits. Linking a new habit to something we already do makes it easier to remember and repeat. So an alternative would be reviewing our weekly spending at the end of each week, right? After doing our skincare routine, for example. So it becomes a calm, natural rhythm. So we might end up noting down like a few wins and one improvement from the week, right? So no shame, just clarity. Over time, this review becomes as normal as our everyday routine. So ultimately, by attaching financial habits to regular routines, we make them sustainable and stress-free. So to be honest, sometimes we can just spend emotionally, and to be honest, that's life. But psychology shows that naming our emotional state actually activates the prefrontal cortex and calms the amygdala, which supports better decisions under stress. So something we could do is explore pausing when tempted to spend and asking, wait, what 3 words describe how I feel right now? It creates just enough distance for intention. That simple pause has helped us notice when we're stressed, tired, or bored, right? And swap that impulse by for a moment of rest, fresh air, or prayer, which basically leads to us potentially becoming more aware of our emotional state before we spend, helping us stay grounded and wise. Okay, so next on our list is creating a financial reset routine. So sometimes we don't actually need to even start from scratch. We just need a reset. The anterior cingulate cortex monitors conflicts and errors, right? So making us feel discomfort after financial mistakes. Building a reset ritual supports emotional regulation and adaptive behavior. So one idea is to try reviewing our bank statement maybe once a month with a warm drink, some nice music in a cozy space, keep it judgment free. Just observe, learn, and move forward. You know what? To be honest, we can even like set a vibe, have some nice gentle music, and just reframe that review as an act of peace, not punishment. A warm environment supports calm processing. So when we build resets into our rhythm, we replace guilt with grace, and move forward with clarity. Next, anchor your goals to real dates, not just dreams. Let's move our money goals from vague wishes to specific targets. So in psychology, the temporal construal theory says we act more decisively when our goals are connected to clear timelines and tangible next steps. Something we might want to do is shift a goal from, let's say, save for a holiday to save £200 by August 10th and break that into weekly steps. So even using a calendar reminder each week to check progress can make our goals feel so much more doable. Ultimately, the clearer the time frame, the more real the goal becomes and the more likely we are to follow through. Right, so progress you can see is progress your brain celebrates. Cognitive neuroscience shows that dopamine, the motivational chemical, is triggered by signs of success. So visual tracking helps fuel the system and keeps momentum high. So one morning option is coloring in a tracker each time we save or using a progress bar in our notes app. Act itself becomes a reward. Basically, seeing our own growth makes progress feel joyful, and that joy just keeps us going. Sometimes the most powerful habit is just learning how to say no. In psychology, assertiveness training has been shown to help us set boundaries while maintaining connection. It supports emotional resilience and reduces social spending guilt. So a helpful habit is preparing a gentle but firm response in advance. There's something like, oh, that sounds lovely, but I'm locking in on my savings this month. Can we do something else another time? So or having a few ready-made phrases just builds confidence. It shows that we actually value our friendship, but also we value our financial goals. So give yourself some grace, right? So reflect on how far you've actually come. Let's take a moment to celebrate growth, not just goals. The studies show that reflecting on progress boosts self-efficacy and encourages consistency, especially during low motivation phases. So one way to do this is by writing down a money win each month, even if it's small, right? So a no spend day, you track your budget like it all counts. When we focus on what we did, it shifts the tone from shame to celebration. The energy makes us want to keep going. So remembering progress is a process, and every small win is proof we're changing. And that brings me nicely onto the next point, which is focus on progress, not perfection. Let's drop the pressure and embrace the pace. Honestly, a growth mindset means believing efforts matter more than outcomes. This belief helps us stay steady through setbacks. So something we could do is exploring and noting down one thing that worked each week. Even if everything didn't go to plan, that reflection builds confidence. We've all had weeks where we didn't save, but maybe we paused before a big impulse buy or stuck to our food plan. Those are victories. Those are wins too. In the end, consistency grows when grace is part of the journey and not just perfection. Your financial well-being isn't a trend, it's a lifestyle. Everything I've shared in today's video is provided to help you reconnect with who you're becoming. Also, if you're ready to lock in and take your well-being seriously, I've left some guides in the description box. I have also linked a few videos and you might be interested in watching them. I hope you found this information useful, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.